Welcome, Vol Nation, or anyone else watching here to Sports Mecca. I'm Lucas Panzica. With me, as usual, is the expert, Malcolm Harris. Malcolm, another crazy weekend in sports. We keep getting so much to talk about.
So much to talk about, but before the expert, I'm not the expert, man. You're the guy with the plan, but
we'll see how it goes.
It's good to be back, man.
We'll start off with some Vol football. Tennessee took on Kentucky this past weekend. Vols dominated. 152-21, and it could have been so much worse.
It could have been a lot worse. I mean, towards the third quarter, I mean, there was 50 points on the scoreboard, Lucas. And one thing I just have to say is just special teams. Mark Elder has done a great job with special teams by far. I mean, just the best in the nation, I believe, personally.
Would you say this, so far in Butch Jones' career, it was the most complete game on all cylinders?
In all phases. I mean, you could talk about kicking. You could talk about, running backs, wide receivers, just throughout. I mean, defense looked immaculate. I mean, Patrick Tolles was on his back for the majority of the second half. And it was really good to see.
This 3-game stretch, the comeback win over Georgia, then a bye week, and then the great performance at Alabama, and now this against Kentucky. Are the Vols playing the best football of the Butch Jones era right now?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you just look at this 3-game stretch. Josh Dobbs is playing the best football out of a Tennessee QB we've seen in a while. And just that culminated with a great defense that's hungry. And, I mean, again, I can't say enough about the special teams unit with, Evan Berry just back there. It's immaculate.
So many issues in the beginning of the season with the offensive play calling, particularly in the Oklahoma and Florida games. Has that changed? Do you think DeBoard is kind of shaking the rust off of not calling plays for so long?
It's a culmination of two. I think it is rust, but I also think that players are starting to make plays. And it's good to see that these young guys are starting to, step up and are really starting to just elevate their game to another level.
Butch Jones says the play calling has not changed since the Oklahoma game and Florida game. But do you really believe that? In the Florida game that all we saw were these runs, crazy designed runs and a few trick plays. Do you really believe that when the Vols are starting to air it out a little bit more and some more trust in Dobbs?
I think they are starting to air it out a little bit more because they see that, their quarterback is a gamer. He's just not, just a one-hit wonder. Joshua Dobbs, with that 75-yarder to Malone, he could get it down the field. And, I mean, just the way that Josh, he goes out of this route and he just all of a sudden, boom, you have Joshua Dobbs launches it, he catches it on one step, throws a stiff arm, and he's to the house. It's just good to see Josh Malone just take over,
Josh Malone finally might be living up to that 5-star status that he was coming in as a freshman. So let's talk bowl game.
Okay.
Vols are definitely going to make one. Finally, we know that for
Finally,
sure.
we know.
Best case scenario.
Best case scenario for myself, I'm going Outback, man. I love going to Florida. I love me a good steak, as you can see by this figure right here. So I'm definitely hoping for the Outback Bowl. What about you, man? What do you think?
Best case scenario, I'm with you. Outback, and then maybe the Peach Bowl in there. If the Vols can get a New Year's Six Bowl, a game that last year Ole Miss was in, and Ole Miss was a team that was ranked 3rd in the country at one point last year, I think that would be huge for the Vols. And worst case scenario?
Worst case scenario, Music City, man. We haven't been to the Music City Bowl since 2010 with old Coach Dooley. So if we have an epic collapse, which I don't see happening, I would say Music City Bowl.
Now, can you imagine Music City against North Carolina rematch?
Oh my gosh, that would be something to see. It would be something to see.
I'm with you with the Music City. I think Belk Bowl would be another option for the Vols. That's always a decent bowl.
Yeah.
But let's move on to Tennessee basketball.
Okay.
We'll come back to some college football later on in the show. They got an exhibition game on Friday against UNC Asheville. The Barn era officially starts next Friday against UNC Asheville. They play Alabama Huntsville this Friday.
Okay.
Does this team have a point guard? That's the question surrounding this team.
Absolutely not. I look down this roster from front to back, and I don't see a true point guard. And, I mean, Tennessee notoriously does not have a point guard. It's the craziest thing. I mean, what's the last point guard you can really name? I mean, maybe. I mean, I can't name one.
We were talking about it the other day with Josh Richardson and Jordan McRae, the past two guys. Those are the guys that were converted into point guards, ended up being stellar for the Vols. But can you see a Kevin Punter or an Armani Moore kind of being like that kind of player for the Vols?
I can see Kevin Punter definitely taking those responsibilities, but Armani, he's gotten so big since, previous coaches have, put him down to be like a 4 or 5. I don't see Armani taking that role, but, I do see Armani taking the role of being the guy. What do you think?
I'm with you. Armani was recruited as a point guard, like you said, but I couldn't see him really owning that position. Then I'm with you, Kevin Punter. Rick Barnes calls Kevin Punter a coach's dream. So we'll see how that culminates as basketball season starts. Vols predicted to finish 12th in the SEC. Is that reasonable to you? Last year predicted to finish second to last.
That is reasonable because if you look talent-wise and talent-wise alone, I mean, this roster is worse than last year. This roster is not made to, win SEC championships right now. And, I feel that Rick Barnes is here because he can turn a program like Tennessee around. So
we'll go into women's soccer, hit on that really quick. The Vols finished the regular season 7-5-6. They are 3-5-3 in the conference, and they're heading to Orange Beach, Alabama this week for the SEC tournament. Vols will probably have to win that tournament if they want any shot at making the NCAA tournament, which they've missed for 3 years in a row. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Sports Mecca. A lot to talk about. We'll be right back.
The authority on the origins and composition of meteorites and scientist on the first spacecraft missions to Mars is one person. Dr. Hap McSween, Distinguished Professor at the University of Tennessee. A rock flying through space is also a specialty of Tennessee alum R.A. Dickey, big league knuckleballer and best-selling author. At UT, we appreciate and encourage unique and creative minds.
The University of Tennessee, big orange, big ideas.
My favorite part about being a Vol and being a part of the Vol family is that we're one Tennessee.
Being from Tennessee and being able to go to school at the University of Tennessee was an honor for me.
My scholarship means so much to me. It's really a blessing.
My message to the Tennessee Fund donors would be just to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to pursue my dreams.
We appreciate everything that you guys do for us.
Thank you so much. It really does mean a lot to me and my teammates.
Vol fans, there's one penalty that is not reviewable.
Where's your orange? It's Friday.
And you're not wearing orange.
You gonna really come out here with no orange on?
Do not forget to support your Vols by wearing your orange on Fridays.
Got to be kidding me.
Show us your orange and avoid getting a penalty flag thrown your way on Big Orange Friday.
Welcome back to Sports Mecca. We have some MLB on hand. Now, it wasn't a sweep now, Lucas, but those Royals, how about them? Got it done in 5.
1-5, first World Series championship for the Royals since 1985. Here you see Eric Hosmer with the game-tying run in the 9th. Royals came back. Mets choked in the 9th. We're up 2. I don't think anyone can really dispute that the Royals deserve this when they lost it last year and then they make it again this year. Wire to wire, baseball is such a long and grueling season, but the Royals really were always in that top conversation of World Series.
They are, and they will be for some years to come. These guys are young. They're quick, they're strong. I mean, I could see like a potential, like the San Francisco 2010, 12, 14. I could see the Royals potentially having that type of run.
Former Vol. Tennessee had a impact on the World Series as former Vol Luke Hochevar pitched 2 scoreless innings in the 10th and 11th. Kansas City ended up pulling away with 5 runs in the 12th and won the World Series by a score of 7-2. Like I said, their first one in 30 years. Moving on to basketball, the Hawks played the Heat last night. Yeah. Hawks won. I know you're an ATL guy.
Oh my gosh, I am an ATL guy, and another ATL guy, Jeff Teague. I mean, Jeff Teague from the point guard position has been lights out for a long time, and he's been, he hasn't really gotten the credit like he should deserve, like, a Steph or John Wall, but he finished with 26, 6, and 9, and it was just great to see him distribute the ball. Not only that, but just to really take over when Atlanta needed him the most, and it's good to see that out of Jeff Teague because he could lack that sometimes. So.
Last season, we didn't get to see Kobe Bryant play that much with injury. He's back this year. He's, 37, 38 years old. Having a rough start to the season. Only hit 16 of his first 51 shots. We have a clip from Kobe Bryant, a quote from talking about his play in the first part of the season.
I suck right now, dude.
You don't have any health issues right now?
Yeah, it's the 200th best player in the league right now.
So Kobe Bryant, is he done? Is Kobe Bryant done?
Kobe Bryant is Kobe Bryant. I mean, Lucas, let's just be real, but I mean, the guy is not playing good basketball right now. And if I'm Byron Scott, can you bench a Kobe Bryant? You can't do it. You can't be, a 5 rings on that hand and tell you to sit down. You can't do it. And unless you have guys, that are not Nick Young. I mean, who's going to replace him? Who's going to replace Kobe Bryant?
And Kobe Bryant's shot selection has really been what people have been talking about, how poor it's been. Byron Scott says he's okay with it.
He is okay, but no coach is going to be okay with 31%. I don't care if you're Michael Jordan. No coach is going to be okay with that. And it's getting to a point right now where I feel that Kobe Bryant is becoming detrimental to the team. You know, you're messing up team chemistry, but, you know, we knew coming in that the West was stacked, but it's gonna be a long season for the Laker faithful. So
Kobe Bryant now has always been a guy that stands out on the court. Obviously, now is he going to have to kind of step back and take like the leadership position that from the bench?
I think so. I think it's time for Kobe just to really, unless he can get it together, which I hope for the game of basketball he does, but he needs to take that leadership position. But let's speak on some other teams in California. We have a nice matchup of undefeateds tonight with the Clippers and the Warriors. Who do you like in that one, man?
I've always followed Steph Curry. I'm a big believer in Steph Curry. The first 4 games, Steph Curry has 148 points. That's the most in that first 4-game stretch since a guy named Michael Jordan.
Oh, my goodness.
Can you talk about Steph Curry MVP back-to-back this year, you think?
Oh, absolutely. If the season ended today, it would be a landslide, probably, you know, the most, you know, lopsided victory for, you know, an MVP. And it's really good to see. But I have the Clippers tonight. You know, I love Blake Griffin. I don't know if you guys remember, but Amari Stoudemire back in those days in Phoenix, plus a nice Pau Gasol when he was younger. I mean, that's what Blake is looking like. But he's just I love what Chris Paul is doing, so I'm definitely going Clippers tonight to hand Golden State that first loss.
So that's a great matchup to look out for tonight in the NBA. We have Elaina Emery on the scene here. She's going to talk a little bit about concussions and their effect on sports. Elaina?
Why is it that every time we read a sports article or see a sports story on TV, the subject of concussions seems to be at the forefront? From youth leagues to high schools to college to the professional leagues, concussion awareness is at an all-time high. With the popularity of football in the United States, most of the focus seems to be towards that sport in particular. What effect, if any, will this heightened awareness have on the future of football as we know it today? For the first time, we are seeing participation rates in football drop among the youth leagues and high schools. Parents are choosing not to allow their children to participate in fear of what long-lasting effects might come from a concussion. Any brain injury is a serious one, but multiple brain injuries, especially those that occur in relatively short periods of time, can have long-lasting, if not permanent, effects. Education, teaching of proper fundamentals, timely diagnosis, and proper care are critical in concussion management. Rules have been changed to minimize the amount of time colleges and pros can engage in contact drills. Some states have even put similar limitations at the high school level. A recent study at Virginia Tech established a rating system for the helmets. The system goes for the best helmets that are 5-star, down to the worst being a 1-star. The goal is to gradually get rid of the 1, 2, and 3-star helmets. It's not a problem for colleges and pros who have a lot of money, but the high schools and youth leagues can't afford to replace their helmets all at once. It is also important to note that a concussion does not have to come from a blow to the head. It can be a whiplash incident that causes the brain to rattle around in the skull. Besides rule changes regarding number of hours of contact drills, the spearing or targeting rules hope to make the game safer. But the bottom line is that concussions are going to happen. We need to do whatever we can to minimize the damage.
Elaina, thank you so much for that. And I'm glad she brought up that, especially about targeting, because we've seen this, I mean, you know, week by week, especially in football, these hits that these guys take, it's crazy just how their head just jerks back. And I mean, this is not just about, you know, week to week. This is about a lifetime. So that's a really good thank you, Elaina. But let's talk about some more injuries and some NFL news. I mean, it was a crazy week in the NFL this week.
Yeah, a lot of turnover in Nashville. The Tennessee Titans fire Ken Whisenhunt after going 3-20, which is a reasonable decision with that kind of record. And what was your reaction to that? Do you think that it was early? Or do you think they should have waited to the end of the season there?
You can't go 3-20 in the National Football League, Lucas. That's not going to bring home a paycheck, and that's not going to keep fans happy. I really feel for Ken Whisenhunt and his family because he's a great guy, a high character guy, but it's not going to get the job done. And especially if you have the number 3 defense, Lucas. I mean, you're a Titans guy. You know, you see that defense that's held my Falcons to 10 points in a game you should have won. And no, you have to exit.
Any possibility of a Chip Kelly, Marcus Mariota reunion in Nashville?
If things get rocky in Philly, I could see it, but I don't see that happening.
I'm with you. A lot would probably have to happen there. Titans have Mike Mularkey, the tight ends coach, take over as the interim And I'm going to allude to what GoVols 24/7 writer Wes Rucker posted in a tweet this week, where he said the Titans are moving chairs around on the Titanic by firing Whisenhunt. And I think he's absolutely right. There needs to be a clean house in that front office. General manager Rustin Webster hasn't been getting the job done. A lot needs to be done in that organization. It's in shambles right now, and there's no other way to put it. But speaking of Titans, new worst team in football after the loss to the Texans?
Surprisingly, absolutely not. Absolutely not. The worst team in football are the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, from top to bottom, when you're benching your franchise quarterback who you're paying, over $60 million guaranteed to call, I mean, that's crazy. For Blaine Gabbert, who's been, off the face of the earth since Jacksonville. And you're benching him and your defense. I mean, they can't cover a cold. I mean, Titans have a long way to go before they get that bad.
We'll see how that goes. I'm going to say yes, Titans are, because I had the Texans as the worst team in football last year. I mean, that AFC South is just atrocious.
It is.
Somehow Titans at 1-6 are still in the running for the AFC South.
What are they, like a game and a half behind?
Exactly, a game and a half.
That is, oh my gosh.
The Broncos met the Packers last week in the game of two undefeateds. Is Peyton Manning back? 340 yards?
I'll be the first one. If you watched the show last week, I wrote Peyton Manning off. You're done. I love him, but I mean, he performed well. He had, 21 to 29. He did throw a pick, but I mean, it was a great throw. He just made a play on the ball. Peyton did everything he had to do, and good for him. What do you think?
I don't think you can write Peyton Manning off ever. Yeah. But Peyton Manning is definitely past his prime. You can't argue that.
Yeah,
and it'll be interesting to see what he does in Indianapolis, visits his old team this week. But the more surprising thing was Aaron Rodgers, 77 yards.
I mean, I don't know if you remember, but Wade Phillips is the D coordinator over there in Denver. And they actually faced a Green Bay team back when he was with the Cowboys as head coach. And Aaron Rodgers lit that Dallas defense up. And it eventually got Wade Phillips fired. So I think that was a little bit of a chip game, a little revenge. So it was good to see from Wade Phillips in that defense.
The Colts almost did give the Panthers a run for their money. Panthers still undefeated after beating them in overtime. And Andrew Luck, late interception in overtime. Here it is, Luke Kuechly, the linebacker, tip drill right there. And the Panthers kick a game-winning field goal in overtime. Is Andrew Luck just hurt, or is he overrated?
Andrew Luck is just hurt. I mean, I love me some Andrew Luck. I mean, ever since Stanford, I mean, he's been a gunslinger. But, you got to make those throws, Andrew. He does. I mean, you have to play hurt in the NFL. That's just our game. That's what we do. So I hope that they get it together. I mean, I'm sure you don't for your Titans' sake, but, it'll come together.
There are 4 undefeateds left in the NFL, the most at this point in league history. You got Cincinnati, Denver, Carolina, New England. Who's the first to fall?
How many yards did you say Aaron Rodgers threw for last week?
77.
Okay, well, he's not going to throw for 77 this week, so I got Carolina going down first.
All right, we'll do a quick pick-em. We'll go over tonight. Cleveland goes to Cincinnati. Johnny Football starting against the undefeated Bengals.
I love Johnny, but I have to go Cincinnati. Andy Dalton, he had an off game last week. I think he gets it together.
I'm with you. Cincinnati wins that one. Green Bay goes to Carolina.
You just heard my pick. Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers. That's a bad man. So
I'll go with Carolina. I love that defense.
Okay.
I love Cam Newton, and I love seeing the Panthers being undefeated.
Okay.
Oakland at Pittsburgh. I know you love the Raiders.
I mean, I can't get enough of those Raiders. Derek Carr has Aaron Rodgers-like stats right now if you look at them side by side. And, Michael Crabtree and Amari, I can't say enough. So I'm going to Oakland. What about you?
I'm with you there. I don't think Ben Roethlisberger is 100% right now.
No.
Denver and Indianapolis, the reunion of Peyton Manning and the Colts.
I want to go Denver. Because I feel that Andrew's still not healthy. We talked about it. Andrew's still not 100%, so I'm going to go Peyton.
I agree with you there. And the Titans go to New Orleans. First game under interim coach Mike Mull.
What do you think, man? Because I personally, if Marcus plays, they win. If Marcus doesn't play, they lose. Simple as that.
Marcus Mariota is planning on playing, but I have the Saints in this one in the Superdome.
Okay, well, we're going to be right back with some more college football. Stay tuned.
My favorite part about being involved and being a part of the Vol family is that we're one Tennessee.
Being from Tennessee and being able to go to school at the University of Tennessee was an honor for me.
My scholarship means so much to me. It's really a blessing.
My message to the Tennessee Fund donors would be just to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to pursue my dreams.
We appreciate everything that you guys do for us.
Thank you so much. It really does mean a lot to me and my teammates.
Vol fans, there's one penalty that is not reviewable.
Where's your orange? It's Friday.
And you're not wearing orange.
You gonna really come out here with no orange on?
Do not forget to support your Vols by wearing your orange on Fridays.
Got to be kidding me.
Show us your orange and avoid getting a penalty flag thrown your way on Big Orange Friday.
Big news out of Blacksburg, Virginia this weekend. Frank Beamer, after 29 years as the head coach at Virginia Tech, is retiring at the end of the season. Big news for the Vols, who they play Virginia Tech next year in Bristol, the Battle of Bristol, biggest college football game ever. And Frank Beamer's not going to be there.
That's I couldn't imagine that without him personally. I mean, I was really looking forward to it, but it's Virginia Tech. I mean, it's a prime program. They're definitely going to get somebody.
So this kind of puts an interesting spin on the coaching carousel this offseason in college football, because Kirby Smart has been a name that's been mentioned a lot, the defensive coordinator at Alabama, to take that job. But then you got Mark Richt at Georgia, which is Kirby Smart's alma mater, who is under fire, as always. But after a 9-3 season, can Georgia fire a head coach?
Yes, they can, because, I mean, it's been a 9-3 season for the past 15 years. You know, when is Georgia going to get to that peak? And we thought it was in 2012, but, I mean, sometimes
6 yards short.
6 yards short, man. And sometimes stuff runs its course and you have to move on. And I honestly feel that, you know, Georgia will move on. And I mean, the trickle effect is already starting to happen. Jacob Eason recently, I think it's like a silent decommitment. So it's going to be interesting to watch. But
does Kirby Smart jump at that Georgia job?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the perfect situation for Kirby. I mean, he's a defensive-minded coach. I mean, that's his old stomping grounds. I could definitely see him walking in immediately and making a significant impact.
We'll keep it in the footprint in the SEC. Matty Mock, officially done for the season. Drew Lock, the freshman, is going to have to take over for violation of team rules. But does that really make a difference on Mizzou's season? Does that make a difference whether they make or don't make a bowl game?
I mean, I personally feel that Matty would have known the playbook a little bit more than Drew, but I just feel, you know, Matty, you're a student athlete. Student becomes, you know, first and athlete is second, and you just have to get it right. And I wish him the best, and I think he will, but, you know, time will tell. What about you?
I'm with you. Matty Mock showed so much promise in his freshman year. You just hate to see something like that.
Yeah, you do.
And we'll see how that plays out over the course of this next year. So you got 2 weeks ago, the punt block against Michigan. Michigan State returns it and wins. Last week, the block kick 6 against Florida State at Georgia Tech. And then this week, maybe the craziest of them all. I don't know. They're all unbelievable.
Oh, my goodness.
The Miami lateral win over Duke. Atrocious officiating. ACC officials all suspended after that game. I mean, how can you not overturn that?
I don't know. When you're looking back on that replay and you see there was a knee on the ground, there was, you know, multiple blocks in the back. I mean, holding, you name it, it was there.
And then you got about 8 players without a helmet running onto the field before the guy even gets in the end zone.
You know, that's the definition of the U. That's the only way they can win. That is truly the definition of the U. So, you know, hate it for those officials, but, I mean, you have to do your job. And you got your job wrong that day. So 3
crazy finishes, none of them involving the Vols.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. I mean,
Florida beats Georgia, all but wraps up the East. They have to beat Vanderbilt this weekend. Wazoo misses the upset bid that you almost called it.
I called it.
Over Stanford. Man. 1 missed field goal away.
Yeah.
But let's talk about what people are really thinking about. LSU at Alabama this weekend. Does the winner of that game take the West?
Absolutely. But I'm really looking forward just to seeing that Derrick Henry versus Leonard Fournette. Who's really going to take, you know, their team to the next level? And you know, Ole Miss is still out there, though. Let's not forget. I mean, they control their destiny. If they win out, they're in Atlanta with that rematch against who? Those Florida Gators. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting, man.
You said something to me last night that I thought was interesting. Derrick Henry, he has a great game against LSU. Leonard Fournette gets just over 100. Can Derrick Henry break through into the Heisman conversation?
It's only right that he does because, I mean, Derrick Henry, he has better numbers at this point than Heisman winner Mark Ingram back in 2009. And I look at Derrick and I just see that he's just a physical downhill runner. And, you know, if Leonard Fournette is having an off game against Alabama, look for Derrick definitely to be in that conversation.
But can you see Leonard Fournette? I don't think I've ever seen him have an off game. Can he have an off game?
You know, everybody doesn't have their day, but I don't think that day is coming in.
We'll see. We'll get to that in a second here. We'll start with Pick'em. Arkansas goes to Ole Miss. Ole Miss, do they keep their SEC West hopes alive?
Absolutely. I love Alex Collins as a running back. Again, it's a great running back class, by the way, but I'm going Ole Miss.
I'm with you there. Ole Miss takes that one. Number 5 TCU, number 12 Oklahoma State. Great matchup.
Going TCU, I mean, Trayvon Boykin, I mean, he's literally one play away from being in the Heisman conversation. So I would just look for him to extend stuff with his legs. So
I'm with you, but I don't know that TCU makes the college football playoff. I think they do have to slip up somewhere.
Okay.
And it might be this weekend. I'm going to go with Oklahoma State.
Okay, good pick.
Florida State at Clemson. Clemson needs this one if they want to win out and go to the playoff, which I think they will. So I'm going to go with Clemson.
Okay.
What about you?
I'm actually going Florida State right here. Clemson has to Clemson. I mean, and this is the perfect time. They just number 1 on their, overall the college playoff. And if Dalvin Cook plays, Dalvin Cook is going to play. That's it. That's simple. So
Auburn goes to Texas A&M. Does Auburn make a bowl game? They've got to beat either A&M, Georgia, or Alabama. Do they win any of those games?
No. I really, no. But I'm looking for A&M and Kyler Murray. This is going to be his moment to really come out and say why he was the number 1 ranked quarterback last year in high school. So
Kyler Murray showed flashes last week against South Carolina. South Carolina also showed some flashes, and we have them here in Neyland. Tennessee plays South Carolina this Saturday. Blowout? Does South Carolina keep it competitive?
For the first half, South Carolina is going to play with a lot of heart, but I just think depth and talent, and they're still with interim coach. I just think that it's just not going to flow. So.
Always a good matchup there between Tennessee and South Carolina
Absolutely.
in the past few years, but now with the talent difference so wide between the Vols and the Gamecocks, we might see a different kind of game. LSU goes to Tuscaloosa, and this is the big one. Who's your final pick on that game?
My final pick, Nick Saban doesn't lose big games. So I'm going to go Alabama, but LSU is going to keep it really, really, really close.
I'm with you with Alabama. I've picked against them way too many times just to be denied. Never again. Bama beats LSU. That's it for this episode of Sports Mecca. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm Lucas Panzica.
And I'm Malcolm Harris. Thanks for watching.